So we're appealing for any witnesses, Greg, this morning to the collision to come forward.
The search for a missing 15-year-old girl from Church Hill continues. Nicole Doyle went missing from her home in the early hours of Thursday morning last. Gardaí have renewed their appeal for information today. She's described as being approximately 5 feet 1 inch in height, of slim build with brown hair and blue eyes. When last seen, Nicole was wearing pink pyjamas and a green puffer coat. It's believed that she may have travelled to Dublin. A 100% Redress Party councillor has told officials in Donegal County Council that she can have 500 social tenants in Lifford tomorrow morning demanding to be rehoused because of the extent of mould in their defective block-affected social homes. Councillor Joy Beard produced a black jacket in the chamber which is covered in mould, having been taken from the bedroom of a defective block house. She says the government should be ashamed at the fact that there still isn't a scheme to remediate social homes. Councillor Beard says the council must now inspect each and every one of its social housing units for signs of mould and damp, and where necessary, take immediate action.
There's thousands of homes like this, both private and social. It can't go on. People's health is at risk as well as their safety in these houses, and for nothing to be done is absolutely unthinkable. I'm trying to tell the council they've got to start thinking outside the box now. This is a humanitarian crisis. It's unprecedented, so they need to start thinking for solutions for these families. We've been waiting 2 years on a scheme for social housing and it's not forthcoming. How long do we wait?
Termon GAA Club has secured a further €500,000 in its ongoing efforts to redevelop its facilities. The club has secured a further investment of €500,000 through the Immigrant Investor Programme overseen by the Department of Justice to support its work. The money is being invested by Dr. Paul Boskant, an American psychologist, healthcare entrepreneur, Broadway producer and philanthropist. Hostilities in the Middle East could end in the coming days as a ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon appears close to completion. Israel's cabinet will meet today to discuss the possibility of a truce. A 60-day ceasefire is being proposed to end fighting between Israel and the Iranian-backed Lebanese militia Hezbollah. Sky's Mideast correspondent Alistair Blunkel believes it could happen quite quickly.
As for when a ceasefire will actually come into force, assuming that it is approved, I think it'll be pretty quick, although not instantaneous, so we could be looking the middle to the back end of the week. And a man's died after being assaulted in Dublin. He was attacked in Finglas just after midnight. With more, here's Tara Duggan.
Gardaí and the emergency services were called to reports of an assault outside a home on Dunsink Green in Finglas just before midnight. A man in his 60s had been assaulted. He was taken to Connolly Hospital in Blanchardstown, where he was later pronounced dead. The scene at Dunsink Green has been sealed off for a technical examination, and the Office of the State Pathologist has been notified. No arrests have been made. Gardaí and Finglas are investigating and are asking anyone with information to come forward, particularly anyone with video footage or drivers with dashcam footage who may have been in the area at the time. A family liaison officer will be assigned to support the victim's family.
Well, the forecast dry and sunny for most today. A few showers will affect coastal parts in top temperatures of 5 to 7 degrees Celsius. Just light variable breezes. Mainly dry again tonight, apart from some coastal showers in the north of the region. Frost developing as temperatures fall to between -3 and +1 degree Celsius. Patches of mist and fog also developing in mostly light variable breezes. Tomorrow again largely dry and bright with spells of sunshine and isolated showers mainly confined to the north. Chilly again tomorrow, highs of 3 to 6. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines later in the morning. For now, from the news team, have a very good morning.
The obituary notices this Tuesday morning, November 26th. The death has occurred of Sister Stella Herley, Kinsale, County Cork, Convent of Mercy, Donegal Town and Ballyshannon. Sister Stella's remains will be reposing at Sister Catherine's Mercy Convent, Ballyshannon today from 2 p.m. until 6 p.m, with removal to St. Patrick's Church, Donegal Town this evening for 7 p.m, where she will reside overnight. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. in St. Patrick's Church, Donegal Town, with burial immediately afterwards in Clare Cemetery. Sister Stella's Requiem Mass can be viewed on mcn.live. The death has occurred of Sean Doherty, Teve Clogher Killy Gordon, reposing at the home of his sister and brother-in-law Josephine and John Pat Harvey, Teve Clogher Killy Gordon. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in St Mary's Church, Sessionale. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Paddy Harron, Tonacrum Castlefin. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 11:30 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Castlefin at 12 noon. Interment in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish Facebook page. The house is strictly private to family and close friends at the request of the deceased. The death has taken place of Fonzie Doherty, formerly of Auchtur Muff. Family and friends are welcome to pay their respects at his daughter Louise's home, Karen Bray, Quigley's Point, from 1 p.m. this afternoon. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in the Sacred Heart Church, Muff. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Hugh Canning, Carol Hugh Greencastle, reposing at his home. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30 for 11 a.m. funeral mass, followed by interment in Ballybrack Graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Looking for a perfect gift for your staff this Christmas? Give a gift of choice with a One for All gift card, accepted in thousands of outlets nationwide and online with participating retailers. With no tax, PRSI or USC, you can save up to 57% when you gift up to €1,000. To find out more, visit onplus.com/One for All Xmas or pop into your local post office. Terms and conditions apply. The One for All gift card is issued by GVS Prepaid Europe Limited. GVS Prepaid Europe Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio as we gear up for the voting on Friday. And as I said before 10, hopefully loads of us voting. Now, we have our panel with us. I'll introduce them to you in a moment. In fact, they'll introduce themselves to you as well. But just a couple of people who couldn't attend. Nikki Bradley of Fine Gael. She's a disability advocate and motivational speaker living in Donegal. Diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma at 16 and surviving the rare and often deadly form of bone cancer, offered Nikki a unique opportunity to restart her life at a young age. She's the founder of Fighting Fit for Ewings, which aims to increase awareness about the disease while encouraging people to view exercise as a form of rehabilitation. Her priorities: disability barriers, defective concrete blocks, and getting more young people to play an active role in communities and in politics. Unfortunately, she was unable to attend. She was scheduled to attend, but withdrew yesterday because outgoing Minister Helen McEntee believes in the county, and she's either meeting or canvassing with her or both. Niall McConnell, independent, a farmer from Castlefin. He ran in previous council and Dáil elections. His priorities are immigration, housing and healthcare. Carol Gallagher, People Before Profit, unable to attend as she's teaching and cannot be with us in person. She says she's a dedicated People Before Profit activist who spent years fighting for real progressive change and a strong family ties in Lifford and across the Finn Valley. Her early life shaped, she says, by the social and economic challenges of the Troubles, which instilled in her a deep commitment to social justice. We have, though, four in studio with us, and we'll give them an opportunity now to welcome, for us to welcome them and for them to tell the listener a little bit about themselves, and hopefully this goes better than that preamble. Vincent J. Bradley, independent, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Why should people vote for you?
Yeah, thank you, Greg, for inviting me here. This invitation this morning, and all the panel that's here as candidates as well. Why people should vote for me? I just want to be a voice for the people. I'm an ordinary person. I'm farming all the time and stuff like that there, and people are sort of disconnected with the overall way things are going in this country at the minute. From rearing young families, cost of living, food, fuel, rent, and accommodation. And then we have a situation then where a lot of people are in a very unfortunate situation where their houses are actually falling down around them. We can see the demise of small businesses across the country, local butcher shops closing down, small businesses due to excessive costs. Again, our farming is in decline because of our age profile, and there's no young people really can financially come into farming at the minute because the sustainability is not there. We see, unfortunately, a high level of suicide in the farming sector at the minute. We see a total breakdown of our rural communities. It's just a dismantlement that seems to be going on this last number of years and has accelerated this last few years. And then we come to a situation where overnight small towns and villages are, they have new guests in the morning, maybe some places doubling the population. We see then a collapse then for essential services, for respite services, people looking after family members in the home. Respite services are crucial because they're a vital part.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm not cutting across. It's just to give everyone a quick. I think you'll be able to make a lot of those points in the course of the in the course of the
maybe
conversation.
we could try and get our young people back to the country and build up a future for the country. So thanks.
Yep,
Greg,
no problem.
Thank you.
Minister Charlie McConnell, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Greg, and thanks for organising these debates. My name's Charlie McConnell. I'm a TD since 2011, originally from just outside Glenealy in Carramore, Glenealy, living in Burt, married to Jackie with 8-year-old and 5-year-old sons, and been a TD since 2011. Over the last 4 years, I've been Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine. And listen, my objective as Government Minister has been to work to bring Donegal forward, to secure investment in our county, to ensure investment in our health services, in housing, to deliver the new defective concrete block scheme, and as well to work then at national level to make sure that there's a strong national economy and that Donegal is benefiting from that, and particularly as well that we bring forward our infrastructure in our schools. And that's work that I'm asking for the public support in this general election to be able to continue with. I believe our county has great potential, and we've done and invested a lot and brought very significant funding the last 4 years. That's work we need to continue with to make sure that this is a county which is exceptional to live in and to work in, and which is the public services to match that. And that's my key objective, and I've put a platform to the public over the course of this campaign, and I'm asking for the public support in this election now on November the 29th to continue with that work.
Thanks very much indeed. Charles Ward, 100% Redress. Good morning to you.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning to all our candidates here. Charles Ward. I'm an affected homeowner. I am here because there's a scheme in place that does not work. There's thousands of us left behind. We need all the help we can get. We need a voice, especially a voice of a defective homeowner in the Dáil is what we need. We need you to look and seriously consider your votes coming up. This is the crossroads. We're coming to the stage now where this is do or die for the defective concrete movement. So you either stick to what you've got or you vote someone in who will walk the floor of the Dáil, an elected defective homeowner that's been sent up by Donegal.
And Sinn Féin's Padraig McLaughlin. Good morning to you, Padraig.
Thanks, Greg. I'm Padraig McLaughlin. I'm from Buncrana, and I've been honoured to represent the people of Donegal for many years. When I traverse across this county, it's clear that there's a burning desire for a change of government. It's clear that there's a real sense that Donegal is a forgotten county. But the people of this county are mighty people. They just need a government who will meet them halfway. If you look at the defective block crisis, our people in Donegal have been treated like second-class citizens. In Dublin and North Leinster, they got 100% redress. We get a grant scheme where you have to make up tens of thousands of euro. It has to stop. If you look at our hospital, it's been systematically underfunded for so many years, to the extent that 81 GPs and dozens of consultants stood up last year and spoke out about the neglect of the hospital, the fact that it needed to be funded properly. If you look at our parents of children with disabilities, we have the longest waiting list for basic services for children with disabilities. We have an appalling respite service. So our people deserve better. Sinn Féin have a real chance now to change this government. The only way that these things change is with a change of government, and I'm asking people to come out in strength in Donegal and vote for that change on Friday.
OK, thank you all very much indeed. Before we get into the core debates, I mean, obviously after Friday we don't know how things will play out. A government will have to be formed. Charlie McConnell, do you believe that if get into power and to continue the work that you talk of. After the dust has settled, if the numbers work out, do you think Fianna Fáil would do business with Sinn Féin?
Well, I think our objective, Greg, is to make sure we maximise our seats across the country, and I think we're a party who very much is focused on making sure the economy is well managed and making sure then we're investing in public services and dealing with the many challenges facing the public. And ultimately the public will decide, but our parties do put forward their platform, and I believe the current outgoing government has worked very well at national level in terms of managing the economy really well, and I think it's really important that we continue to make sure we have a pro-enterprise approach. I believe that the Sinn Féin approach to the economy is one which is not pro-trade, not pro-free trade, which is so important to our export economy, so important, for example, to Letterkenny here, which has the highest number of IDA-based jobs and foreign direct investment-based jobs of any town of its size in Ireland, and our key priority is to make sure we continue to see the economy do well so that we can actually ensure the country and our public services that are then invested in. But we have fought the campaign on our own platform.
Okay.
And after the election then we will sit down. But we have been clear.
But would you go as far as your party leader and say you won't do business?
We've been clear as a party that the current government has worked well. We want to work with parties who are pro-enterprise.
That's the priority.
And we have real serious issues with the Sinn Féin economic platform. We don't believe it would be one which would bring the country forward or one that is consistent with our own. Okay. And we will be talking to parties that we believe have a consistent platform which will be good for the economy as a key starting point.
I mean, Pádraig, to get into power, to start fulfilling some of the promises you've made, you probably will. Invariably, you will need a big partner, right? Would you go into government with Fianna Fáil? Would your party go into government with Fianna Fáil to that end?
Well, we've made it clear for a long time now that our preference is to have a government that doesn't have Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael in it. That's why we're running 71 candidates across the country. But the people will decide. And
you're not ruling it out?
No, I wouldn't be so arrogant to rule out discussions with anybody.
The only thing with that is how does that deliver change then? Because, everything's about change. You would facilitate Fianna Fáil, or Fine Gael for that matter, continuing in government. That's not the change that you talk of necessarily. The people there's a lot of people content with the current government, but the people that want the change, you're talking about potentially more of the same.
I'm very clear. I think that Sinn Féin have a real chance of being the largest party again in this election. The momentum is clearly with us. It's against Fine Gael in a big way right now. And if we are the largest party, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for people like, for example, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to club together again. 45% of the people of Donegal voted Sinn Féin at the last election. Is Charlie seriously suggesting that he rejects that percentage of people's Donegal's expressed democratic wishes? So our view is that if we can be the largest party, our programme for change, our manifesto can be implemented. That's our objective. I think that people have hope now in this election that they haven't had for a long time, and there is a burning desire in Donegal on issues like housing, defective blocks, our health services, our disability services,
get to those
fishing.
Issues, and we'll
There's
also
a burning desire for change. I believe we can deliver it now.
Charles Ward, you talked about walking the floor of the Dáil, driving the point home, but to achieve what you want to achieve, I don't know how it would have to go. Would it be the full implementation of the People's Document? Would you support a Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael government, or a Sinn Féin government for that matter, to achieve those ends?
The full implementation of the People's Document. Absolutely no one left behind. 100% redress with no one left behind. Farm buildings, creches, nurseries, community centres and homes. Absolutely nobody left behind. This has to end. We've been battling this 14 years, and this document is in place. If they want us to be involved in this is our red line, the People's Document.
Yep, thanks for that. What about you, Vincent Bradley? Would you be happy to get into bed with any of the main parties to further the wants and needs of those that might elect you?
Well, at the minute, if we look back in this last 5 years, we don't have any opposition in this country. They're all in bed together at the minute, so they don't have to get into bed. They're all in the same bed. Now they can tell us whatever sounds good coming up to election time. We hear it every 5 years, and then everybody disappears for the next 5 years. So again, Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, there's no opposition in this country. So the people has to make the choice now. Do we want to listen to the same carry on up on the dial every other day? The one Sinn Féin short forecast, we're here today, we're not too far away the next day. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, there is no opposition, so we need to get independents in, strong independents that can go up there.
Yeah, but if independents club together as a grouping, sure, that's another party.
Well, it's an independent party, I agree with you, but at least we have all our
So
own
you would join an independent party?
If it was
But why then not run for one of the independent parties that are already there?
I just still want to run as an independent, so we'll see. I would still like to be an independent.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for that. Right, we're going to come back and we're going to carry on from our conversation at the end of yesterday's debate, and that is with a focus on defective concrete, and we'll be starting that after we take this short break. Stay right where you are.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 26th of November. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S17. It's game number 48. The numbers are 41, 79, 46, 75, 14, 67, 52, 73, 8, and finally 72. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
At Hidden Hearing right now, get up to €2,000 off state-of-the-art hearing aids, even if you don't qualify for PRSI. Visit hiddenhearing.ie today. T's and C's apply.
Unwrap the magic of Christmas gifting with Eason's Best of Kids books, including The Hilarious Disaster Dad by Donico Callahan, Skullduggery Pleasant, The Haunted House on Hollow Hill, Tom Gates' Ha Ha Hilarious, and Where to Hide a Star by Oliver Jeffers. In Eason stores now or online, with thousands of books available for next day delivery.
Black Friday deals at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. 20% off footwear and clothing. Check in store and online for details. 20% off Asics, Brooks, Hoka and On footwear. 20% off Under Armour and Adidas clothing. With 30% off Donegal GAA Western Range and Puma football boots. Get your Black Friday discounts on bmcsports.ie.
Looking for the ideal Christmas gift? Treat your loved ones to a memorable night at Anchorage Hotel this January. Enjoy the musical brilliance of Sean Keane or the comedic charm of Conal Gallen. Tickets available from hotel reception or anchoragehotel.com.
It's Social Work Awareness Week, and TUSLA is recruiting social workers for positions all across the country and offering 70 funded places on its Master of Social Work apprenticeship. Social workers are vital in supporting children and families in our communities. Whether you are a recent graduate or thinking of a career change, explore different TUSLA career opportunities at tusla.ie or email tuslarecruit@tusla.ie. Make a difference to children and families. Join TUSLA.
Your one-stop shop this Christmas. Gift vouchers for the Silver Tassie Hotel and Seascape Spa are available online at silvertassiehotel.com or from hotel reception. The Silver Tassie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Okay, so defective concrete blocks and the scheme. Charlie McConnell, outgoing Minister of Fianna Fáil. I think it's fair to say, you're to some extent fighting a solo battle on this up here, right? So I can imagine it's difficult enough, right? But it's not as difficult as it is for the families and what have you. So, I mean, you stand over this scheme, do you, in its current form? Do you believe it delivers what the people want and need?
Well, listen, this is the biggest issue to face our county at any stage in our history, and indeed I'd say no county has faced an issue of the same scale or challenge as we have, or indeed families face the trauma that affects them whenever they have a house which is affected by defective blocks, and all of the stress and strain goes through that. And as a minister at the cabinet table and in government, it has been my number one priority at the cabinet table over the last 4 years to seek a way forward and to make sure that a scheme has been put in place which supports homeowners to get their homes rebuilt. There's a new scheme which this government have now put in place. 4 years ago, there was a 90-10 scheme in place which had maximum funding of 247,000 at 90-10. The new scheme we put in place is totally different, addresses the issues which were there beforehand, addresses it in terms of how homeowners can apply with now, and as opposed to homeowners having to cover the cost of testing, a straightforward application process where the testing is now carried out by the housing agency, where the maximum grant particularly now is now €462,000, following on from the cabinet application there 6 weeks ago of the first annual increase under the current scheme of rates, and alongside then a maximum of €37,000 for the SEA grants. That brings it over to over €490,000 now. That's the maximum available. We have seen significant momentum built up every week now. We're seeing more houses go into construction. We have 320 houses now actually under construction in the county, and 60 finished. Every week now more starting and more finishing. It's an ongoing process, Greg. But if I could just finish, it's an ongoing process. It has evolved and it continues to evolve, and I've worked at every step and done everything possible within my power, and will continue to do so to make sure that the scheme is as strong as possible and supports homeowners to be able to get their lives back.
Do you have a sort of a rough idea or percentage as to how many people are not having to, if they're able to, source additional funding? Like, of the 300 odd and the 64 completed, did any or many of those, as far as you're aware, achieve a 100% redress?
It varies for each homeowner, but really importantly in terms of the scheme that's in place and the legislation that provides for it, every year it can be updated to reflect the cost of building, and the cost of that cost, both when the scheme was established a year and a half ago, and also most recently is advised by independently by the chartered surveyors, and it can be updated every year as we go forward too, because this is going to be a scheme that's going to be with us many years. I know, and I've spoken to many homeowners who've come through the scheme and who have had their costs covered. That has been the experience for many, but it is dependent on obviously the homeowners and the costs and the tenders they get from builders as well. From a government point of view, the objective is to make sure that the grant that's been awarded is reflective of the cost of the day, and there's certainly, in terms of those that are coming through it at the moment, many are having it built for the grant, and it's profitable for builders to build it at that as well.
Okay, I'll come back to you on that.
What I just say as well, the increase, and this is important because as I've gone around as well, and this is something I worked to make sure we secured at the cabinet table too, the increase, the 8 to 9% increase, which is the first annual increase happening under the scheme, that is applying to everybody currently in the scheme. So for those who are currently building, the government have decided that it will apply to those. So for example, that means that anybody that's currently building and who's getting the average grant of about 330,000, it's worth an extra 26,000 in that instance. And if you're at the top end, if you're at the maximum, it's worth an extra 42,000. Just to be clear to everyone, that applies. So it applies to everyone who's currently building.
And you can reiterate those points.
There's some confusion out there, and that is important.
But anyway, you're clear.
And that's something I worked to ensure that was delivered at the cabinet table.
Okay, Charles Ward, 100% redress.
Okay, the average shortfall is 100,000. Okay. Now, we've done a survey.
Just do you dispute that, Charlie, that the average shortfall is 100,000?
Well, I mean, Charlie can give his figures in terms of where he's getting it from. What I can say, Greg, is
affected homeowners.
What I can say is that the average grant under the scheme at the moment, the new scheme we put in, the average grant is 330,000. It was 330,000 up to 6 weeks ago. It will now be 356,000. And also,
I get you. I just wanted to see if we agreed on figures. I'll come back to you.
Let me tell you this. But then also under the SEA grants, most homeowners are getting in and around between 25 and 30,000 under the SEA, which for the average homeowner means that the average grant that they're getting then with the SEA is about €386,000.
Sorry to cut across you, Charles. I just wanted to establish if we agreed on the figures. Crack on there.
Okay, we've done a survey, and this is based on questions here. Charlie insists on describing the scheme as strong and good. If it was strong and good, I wouldn't be here. okay? I wouldn't be sitting here doing this, okay? In a recent survey, 97% of affected homeowners with the lived experience disagreed with the assessment of the scheme, that the scheme is failing and they're going into debt. Charlie says if flaws are identified, they would move to rectify them. Nothing. You were on Highland Radio, okay? And you said that foundations were included, okay?
Foundations will be included in the new scheme. Yes, because they will be the scheme.
They're not included.
Okay, but we don't need to.
Okay, no, Charlie. Let me speak. No. Look, hang on a second. Hang on. No. Let me. You've had your time.
I think the minister did say if the science dictates that. I think you did say that.
Absolutely. So Greg has clarified that. Just Charlie, no, hold on. You're after. Just let me clarify that because I mean you've been a lot of people out there trying to portray false and give and I've been very precise.
I know, Charlie, but sorry, Charlie, I have to be fair, right? I recall that interview, and it was dependent on the science.
Absolutely.
I can't pretend to be fair and then not be fair.
No, but just let me respond, okay, as well, because that's something that you've been saying repeatedly and many others, falsely reporting what I said, Charlie.
Not falsely reporting.
You've heard Greg there actually correct you on it, okay? You've heard Greg correct you on it. I have said consistently at all times that this will have to follow the science as we go forward.
But in relation to,
just let me finish my point.
Charlie, but all the people have to get in as well.
I know. You've known about the science since November last year, 1 year, and we're still doing this.
Let me finish my point. And what I said there as well is that the government were very clear that if there was scientific evidence emerged in relation to foundations, that the government would move to ensure they were concluded.
So where is it, Charlie?
And that's what
November last year.
That's what I said in that clip too,
November
Charlie. So don't try and misportray or misrepresent what I've said. Because I've always been honest and hard working on this issue.
You're remediating house. So can I come in now and say,
can I just clarify something about that clip? There was two parts to that clip, right? There was a part where it was reiterated foundations were included, and then there was a part where science was referenced. All right. I don't want to get bogged in it. But people out there could argue that you're both correct in relation to that. All right, go ahead.
Okay, I don't accept that. No, I don't accept that. No, that's a misrepresentation.
Okay, hang on a second. Can I move on? Charlie, you've had your time. Okay. 82 homeowner amendments by MAG. Charlie voted with his party against them. Up in Dublin, you voted against the people of Donegal. You abandoned your friends and your family and your neighbours of Donegal, and you went with the Fianna Fáil party. You abandoned them.
For homeowners
here, no, you haven't, because if that was the case, why did you vote 82 amendments down with your party?
I can answer that.
Do you know what I mean? No, I'll carry on. Okay, the denial of pre-legislation scrutiny. That's on you. Okay, I personally told Charlie at every public meeting I went to, right, last year, that what the flaws were. I'm just going to state them off. This will take less than a minute. Number one, you ignored the science. 322 people are given option 2 to 5, remediation, okay? They cannot currently sell their homes or remediate their homes. They're trying to get funding. They're stuck in their homes, okay? This is down on you, okay? The exclusion of foundations, okay? Number 3, the failure to to look after the vulnerable. Okay, that's number 4. Number 5, the certificates of remediation. They cannot get insurance. They can't sell the houses. The houses aren't mortgageable. We're wasting taxpayers' money the way we're doing it right now. Number 6, failure to meaningfully engage with the banking and insurance groups. Nothing. So them people that are in their homes that are remediated are stuck, right? Forcing people to lapse building standards, 2007 building standards from a long time ago, when it should be, everything should be foundations out, homes built to today's standards. They're not getting built to today's standards. And finally, the scheme does not represent 100% redress. This is why I'm here.
I get you. Before I bring, I'm sure Pádraig and both Vincent have an awful lot to say about that, but just in relation to those statements, Charlie McConalogue, I mean, do you concede that there are issues there and you're in there to try and resolve them, or do you reject some of his assertions out of hand?
Listen, I've been in there from the very outset trying to resolve issues and trying to get the best outcome possible. And listen, there would be nobody, and I'd say this when I was in opposition, there was nobody who led out more strongly from opposition on the last Dáil than myself in terms of trying to push this scheme forward. And likewise then, when you get into government and when you go on the pitch, it's your job then to get stuck in and get the best outcome possible. In relation to the legislation, I fought that tooth and nail through Cabinet and through the different departments to get the legislation as strong as I possibly could. Well done, Charlie, as strong as I possibly could, and then we brought it through the door. If I hadn't done that, we wouldn't have the scheme we have now. We wouldn't see the momentum we have now, and we wouldn't have a scheme
Thank you very much, and we'll come back to that. But Pádraig and Vincent have been waiting very patiently. Pádraig McLaughlin.
This is straightforward, Greg. There are now over 3,000 families in Dublin and North Leinster that got 100% redress. They're victims of the defective concrete scandals, the same as families in Donegal, Mayo, Sligo, Clare and Limerick. But as you know, a huge number. I would say it could be up to 10,000 properties in Donegal. The scale of this is unbelievable. Whole housing estates across North Donegal will have to come down. That's both council estates and private estates. Absolutely huge. We're only scratching the surface here with what Charlie has talked about. So we need the same treatment for our people, the same justice for our people in Donegal, and it needs to be a state-run scheme. That's what happened in Dublin. They took the keys of the families, gave them the rent for the number of months, and handed the keys back to them. That was the extent of their outlet. The reality is that people are out tens and tens of thousands a year. I met a couple who are a retired couple who are going to have to knock down their semi-detached home, not a huge home. They estimate at this stage that they're going to be down €70,000. So the scale of this is huge. Micheál Martin, at the height of the protests, I mean, we all remember 20,000, almost all Donegal people, in October 2021, 3 years ago. And Micheál Martin said around that time that this is going to be the biggest redress scheme in the history of the state, the biggest one, €3.5 billion. There'll be plenty of money for everybody. We have now an allocation next year of €70 million. Not hundreds of millions, 70 million. So this government are just not serious. So the only way now that this is going to change, because we're talking about billions of euro, is a Sinn Féin-led government, and we've worked very closely with the campaigners since 2021, since the legislation in 2022, all the way to get to the point where what we have now on the table gives people real hope here now, real hope of justice and
There's
fairness.
no questioning Charles Ward's lived reality and his passion for this issue, right? But your party leader came up and sat just behind me in that and said that if you want 100% redress, you don't vote for someone who goes up there and doesn't have the influence to do it. You vote for Sinn Féin. You vote for you, or do you think that was fair to sort of to throw that campaign under the bus like that?
No, that's absolutely not the case. Me and Charles, have the utmost respect for each other. We've worked together for years. Just to be clear on that.
But do you think the same respect was afforded Charles from your party leader?
No. In fairness, everybody has to make their own case in an election. Okay, I'm a Sinn Féin candidate, and what I'm saying very clearly is the scale of what needs to be done here requires multiple numbers of TDs to be in government. So Sinn Féin-led government is the only pathway. That's why very leading campaigners in Donegal have said, and by the way, I've met people in this campaign who not traditionally are Sinn Féin voters and are saying, we're going to give you a chance here. We believe that the only pathway to 100% redress for us to actually rebuild our lives is for you to be in government, because you have the capacity to do it.
Just one question that I put to Pearse Doherty yesterday, and I didn't really pick up an answer as such, and it's a simple one. There are people listening to this programme in Derry, Tyrone and elsewhere who are living in homes with defective concrete blocks, often bought from the same place. Again, I did try and find some reference to, Michelle O'Neill, other leading figures in the north, and defective concrete or mica. I have seen no statements. I've seen no press release. You're in power there, and then we can talk about, funding from London and all that kind of stuff. I get that, right? But do you not think that people could be concerned that if this was such an important issue for Sinn Féin, that it would have leaked into the north and would be one of the key issues for the same party in the six counties?
Well, there's two issues. There's people from the north who have holiday homes in Donegal, and we've engaged with them extensively. I've had meetings along with various Sinn Féin MPs and MLAs in the north with those holiday homeowners, and also Sinn Féin representatives and myself have met with homeowners in the north who had purchased blocks on the side of the border. The reason why families in the north are taking a case, joining the Coleman legal case, is because the Irish government, if I purchase a TV in Derry Okay, the authorities in the north are responsible. The corporate oversight in the north is responsible for anything that went wrong with that product. Okay, so that's where those authorities are accountable. So the Irish government will be accountable for any blocks manufactured in the state, sold at that point within the European
So you believe
Union.
Stormont has no responsibility?
No, I think that fundamentally the Irish government will be responsible, but I do believe there will be need for cooperation between both governments to resolve the issue.
Vincent's been waiting incredibly patiently. Just a quick response to that, Minister.
Oh, well, I mean, I think the hypocrisy here, like, I mean, Pádraig at the outset said about, I mean, comparing Donegal to the Donegal, the MICA scheme, or the defective block scheme to the East Coast. Yet, you know, whether you live in Muff or Colmore, or what side of Calais village you live on, depends on whether Sinn Féin will fight for you to have a government-led scheme. Because in Northern Ireland, where you are,
government responsibility.
No, hold on.
It's an Irish government responsibility.
You said a Sinn Féin-led government, Pádraig, would do this and do that. Okay, there is a Sinn Féin-led government with First Minister.
But do you dispute that it's an Irish government responsibility? Do you dispute that the Irish government have a responsibility?
It's an issue right across our island.
No, hold on. I'm asking you a question. Do you dispute that the Irish government are responsible for the manufacture of blocks sold across the border? Do you dispute that?
The Irish government has stepped in here, okay, to provide support to homeowners with
so you don't dispute that?
With a government-led scheme.
So you don't dispute
because
that?
There should have been insurances, etc., to be able to follow and step. But because of that, the Irish government stepped in. In Northern Ireland right now, okay, just a few miles from here, we have homeowners remediating their houses with zero support from anyone. There's as you said yourself, Greg, there's a Sinn Féin-led government.
Why are Coleman Legal taking a case on behalf of those residents with your government then?
Let me finish.
You haven't answered the question.
Listen, you've given no answer to this question here.
No, you haven't answered the question.
Why are Coleman Legal directly, and then because I want to get to Vincent.
Well, he hasn't answered any question.
In Northern Ireland, not a single mention from, and they published their programme for government for the next 3 years. The programme for government in Northern Ireland, the Northern Irish Executive, was published at the start of September for the next 3 years. No mention whatsoever of defective concrete blocks. So you, as a
Charlie, I'll ask you again. Why have Coleman Legal taken a case against? If you are correct, why have Coleman Legal? If you are correct in your assertion, why have Coleman Legal taking a case against your government, your authorities, and not the authorities in the north? Because it is these authorities here that are responsible for the sale
we'll
and
move on.
manufacture of those
We'll move on to other guests. We'll bring you back in because I want to bring Charles back in. But Vincent's been waiting very patiently. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah. Listen, where you're from, this is a big issue as well. It's a county-wide issue. What's your views on it?
Of course, it's a big issue, and again, it's the total disconnect of this government all the time, because they don't realise the suffering that the people are going through with them houses. There should be 100% redress. Rip out the founds, start a new, total new house, build it. There's plenty of money for everything else. The houses has to be repaired, that they're livable again. The people deserve that there, Charlie. The people deserve it. And we have money for everywhere else, or there's money for the rest of the world that comes in here. So look after the people in this county and this country. That should be priority for every government, but again, it's not. So there has to be some sort of change, because things are not going to happen in a positive way if there's no change in the current government.
Charlie McConnell, you know, you say you've been making the argument you've been making the argument from the get-go at the cabinet table and what have you. So where's the resistance coming from? You know, we've seen leaked advice from a former Attorney General really effectively saying that this scheme was designed to not really work. Let's limit who can apply. Let's go for the cheapest options. You know, we've heard stories of politicians banging their heads against civil servants and the permanent government, and civil servants wanting to send the cheeky people of Donegal a mission, a message. You know, so can we put our cards on the table here? Who is resisting then doing the right thing for these people? I genuinely don't believe it's you. I don't even necessarily believe it's either the government part. Where is the resistance to frustrate the people of Donegal coming from, in your honest opinion?
Well, look, I mean, and that advice you point out from the Attorney General there is not what came to pass. And I'll tell you where the influence and the pushing has come from. It has come from me at the cabinet. And
yes, but who's pushing back against you?
As well, and obviously homeowners as well.
Who's pushing back on you delivering what you want to deliver?
But really importantly, as much as there can be a protest outside, inside and pressure from the outside. You have to have somebody in at the cabinet table pushing and haranguing.
I'm not questioning what you're doing. I'm not questioning that, but what I'm saying is from where has the resistance come from? Is it Darragh O'Brien?
Well, you will always listen. No matter what things are with the civil service, you will always get cautious approaches. But what I have done and what the government has done, and I have to acknowledge, Micheál Martin, as soon as they invited him up here, came up, the committee was put in place. Absolutely,
that's what he said.
Which is what it is.
Wow, 70 million next year.
We have worked because this is something where the state has to step in to support homeowners. And as I say, the scheme that's in place now is entirely different to the one that was there before, which was plagued with challenges. And we are starting to see it roll out every week with more and more homeowners.
Those 60 houses that were finished, 60 odd houses, how many of those are complete rebuilds and how many of those are remediation?
I don't know the figure. I know in relation to grant. Yes, many are.
Okay,
many
if the 60 that are
but
finished.
I know in relation to the number of grants given out, just under 2/3 are for full demolition, and I would expect that those to be completed a lot.
We're going to come back with a rebuttal from Charles Ward and more from our guests on this incredibly pressing issue. Stay right where you are. As I say, we'll be back in about 4.5 minutes.
The 9 till Noon Show with Donegal's multi-award winning wedding venue, the Silver Tassie Hotel, planning dream weddings for generations. Email weddings@silvertassiehotel.ie for a wedding brochure or private show round.
Discover fresh local convenience shopping at Mabel stores across Donegal. Hot offers include Heinz ketchup 460 gram and Hellman's mayonnaise 400 gram, €2.50 each. Volvic water 1.5 litre 120 plus 25-cent deposit. Offers until December 6th. Bring the kids to post their letters to Santa before December 8th with replies and treats at our Customer Appreciation Day on December 12th. Follow your local Mabel store on Facebook for giveaways and offers. Mabel Stores. Fresh, convenient, local.
At AXA, blocked drains and burst pipes don't worry us. And the kids? Well, let them be kids. From the little accidents to life's bigger problems, these things happen. But with AXA Home Insurance, our 24/7 emergency home assistance, we'll have a fully qualified tradesperson with you quick. Together, we've got this. AXA. Know you can. Policy terms and conditions apply. AXA Insurance Stock is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
With MasterCard priceless experiences, the possibilities are endless. You could be front row, screaming every lyric. Or lost for words at the final act. Shh, sorry. Discovering new destinations. Or a land of mouth-watering flavours. So if you're a MasterCard cardholder, register at priceless.com to unlock a world of priceless experiences. From exclusive dining events to historic tours. One place, endless possibilities. Priceless.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Tesco Club Card gives you the power to more this season. Bring a little cheer to your days with Tesco Finest Mince Pies 6-pack, now 2 for €6. Or how about a little something for someone special with sets from Nivea, Dove and more, now half price. Or pick up a Heineken 10-can pack, now for the unbeatable price of €16.96. Helping feed your Christmas spirit. Shop in-store or online. Tesco. Every little helps. Subject to availability. Available in most stores. Prices vary in express stores. T's and C's apply. Deposit may apply. See tesco.ie. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
The 9 till Noon Show with Teddy's Bar at the Silver Tassie Hotel. The ideal spot to catch up for cosy Christmas drinks. Follow Teddy's Bar, the Silver Tassie Hotel on Facebook and Instagram.
Join Ireland's finest singer-songwriter Paul Brady and guest Sunday the 13th of April at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Here Paul performs such classics as The Island, Crazy Dreams and The Homes of Donegal. Tickets for Paul Brady on sale now from the Mount Erigal Hotel and Ticketmaster.ie. Paul Brady and guests presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores with festive savings and refreshing soft drink 18-can packs like Coca-Cola, Pepsi and 7-Up, just €10 each. And choose from a selection of indulgent treats like Jacob's Biscuit Tins or Ferrero Collection, also just €10 each. Plus, you can save again at the till with a 10 off 50 grocery voucher. However you do your Christmas shop, make Christmas for everyone with Dunnes Stores. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more. Prices subject to deposit return scheme fees.
Hairspray, the smash hit Broadway and West End musical, is coming to Derry this March. Featuring some of musical theatre's biggest hit songs, Hairspray is the hilarious, joyous and inspiring musical for all. Hairspray at Millennium Forum from Monday 10th to Saturday 15th of March. This big, bold and beautiful feel-good classic is back. Book your tickets now at millenniumforum.co.uk.
At iMotors, starting this week through November, we're open late every Thursday until 8 p.m. Take advantage of our extended hours to get a head start on your Christmas car shopping at iMotors, Letterkenny.
Have you got your tickets for the Highland Radio Christmas concert? Get ready for a night of great music on Monday, December the 9th in the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. You can enjoy an incredible lineup with Mike Denver and his band, John McNichol, Jim Devine, Donna Taggart, Owen Mack and me, David James. Get your tickets now at the outlet at highlandradio.com, Alexander's Bala Buffet, the Cope Dunlow, the Mount Erigal Hotel, Simpsons Bar Carndonagh, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Don't miss this Christmas cracker.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find the perfect present for everyone on your list this festive season. Discover the joy of gifting and make Christmas magical with McElhenney's Bally Buffet. Visit us in-store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
So dry and sunny for most. However, a few showers will affect coastal parts. Highest temperatures of 5 to 7 degrees in just light variable breezes. We do have a lot to get through in terms of issues, and we're not going to get through everything, but we're trying to get through as many as we can. And there is just no doubt, though you'd be forgiven for not thinking so if you listened to the national radio this morning, that defective concrete blocks is a key issue, at least in large swathes of Donegal. And with that in mind, we're going to continue on this topic for another little while, because I want to give Charles Ward, the 100% Redress Party candidate, a chance to come back in on that. Thanks for waiting until after that break, Charles.
Yeah, so I'll just give you some facts and figures when we're here, right? I believe we have turned a corner in getting more applications processed faster. Top priority for me. This is what Charlie said. Now, this is the figures. They don't lie. 61 homes completed in the last 3 years. 532 people show they aren't applying because they're financially restrained. Okay? We're in touch with them. We've been told they don't have the money, the mental ability to do it, because it's so complicated. They're just sitting there and their homes are deteriorating around them, okay? Number of dwellings currently undertaking remedial works. And this broke my heart when I seen it, because I know that if you're listening and you're doing remediation work, your house is not insurable and mortgageable at the moment. The number is...
remediation work, is that just doing some stuff yourself, like filling a few cracks or blocking off a window? Is that what...
Remediation as in outer leaf remediation or repairs through the scheme. These are people in this survey that have done the scheme.
Understood.
Okay, so out of that there, 318 homes are being remediated, okay? They will have to visit the scheme again, because the science is going to say that it will fail. The science, you're building on top of dead work. As somebody who lay blocks, you're building on top of dead work that isn't fit to hold a building. I have been in contact with people in Fintown in particular. You're listening to me now. You have had remediation work done twice in their house out of their own pocket and taken blocks from Cassidy's and remediated their homes twice, and are absolutely destroyed. I've gone to their house. They've told me their stories. Could you imagine going through this twice? You know what I mean? We're all sharing this nightmare. And I think that the fact is that the numbers here are saying that we're wasting taxpayers' money. End-to-end scheme, foundations included, is the only way forward. It's not MICA. We know it's not MICA. MICA is not the issue here. Follow the science.
Pádraig McLaughlin.
Yeah, I know. I agree with Charles. It's really disturbing, actually, because we all trusted the experts, and the word MICA became the label for what has happened to us, this disaster that's happened in Donegal. And there was an affected homeowner, Paul Dunlop, who's a professor, and he listened to some of the engineers. Engineers started to speak out, and it says, what we're seeing in these houses doesn't tally with IS 465. This was a standard designed by the experts to remediate homes. And they started to challenge it. And I remember thinking at the time, I'm sure you did too, Greg, any minute now the experts will put their minds at ease. This will be clarified. Nobody ever came forward. Nobody came forward. So people were remediating their homes based on this mica freeze-thaw theory, IS 465. But thanks to Paul Dunlop and the experts he assembled across the world, we now know that the actual cancer that we're afflicted with is peritite internal sulfate attack. That is a big difference, because that means that houses have to come down, similar to pyrite in Mayo. So you then have the scenario which is incredible, where over 100 homeowners had engineers saying your house has to be demolished, and they were overruled and asked to do all sorts of farcical things based on the previous discredited standard IS 465. This has dragged on now for 6 months. Campaigners have gone down to Dublin now a number of times, and it is crazy what's happening.
Charles, so you want to come back?
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody at home that might not be aware of this. Can you imagine being in an affected home, and your home is built in a position where it's sheltered, okay, and it's slowly decaying, but you don't meet the damage threshold. A visual. Somebody comes out and it's a visual. It's absolutely ridiculous. The crack's not wide.
Okay.
And you know, this mica, I would like to know where this theory came from, mica, because we all know now that this has been the wrong method. We are still doing this, and we're wasting money.
Yeah. Vincent, did you want to come in on that before I go to Charlie McConnell?
Yeah, in relation to the founds should be actually dug out. You have to start from new if you're building a new house. It makes sense, so there's no point in messing about with it.
Yeah.
Give the help to the people that does need it as easy as possible.
Yeah, for many people listening, Charlie McConnell, it doesn't make sense to, given that what we do know, and everyone's become an expert in this now because it's the lived reality. If we are going to be responsible with taxpayers' money, it doesn't make sense, does it, to go in and do half a job? And in fact, you know, we've got the housing agency themselves sort of recommending this. It puts people in a crazy position because it's like gaslighting. They know how bad the problem is, but then you've got the state sort of doing a half job. Then we don't know in terms of mortgageability and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what do you say to that?
Oh, listen, I mean, the science and the engineering advice has to be absolutely followed in terms of how the scheme is rolled out. We have seen that change and evolve over the last 2-3 years. Like whenever I became a cabinet minister, and at the time of the last election, it was all about mica, you know, and that's what the campaign groups were called after as well. We have seen new information and new science. It hasn't all arrived yet. My objective as a representative from the county has been to work as hard as possible to make sure that we have as strong a scheme as possible. And also, I have always insisted at government level that any new science has to be, and the government has said that they will follow the new science
when
as well.
When is this new science due? Because there is this purgatory that people are in.
It has been slow in coming, and the National Standards Authority of Ireland are the body, the appropriate professionals and competencies in relation to it. There has been new science informed to government in recent times. The government have moved as a result of that to pause any options from 2 to 5 for further assessment and further advice from the National Standards Authority. And it's critical all of the science is followed. And from my objective, Greg, I've pushed in every way possible to get as strong a scheme in place, and I absolutely agree the science and the engineering has to be followed here, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay,
and new and more information
has
been gathered.
The problem, Charlie, is as we speak right now, we have homeowners who were overturned. So they had a recommendation to demolish their houses. That recommendation of their engineers is overturned based on discredited science, right? They're having to appeal to an appeals board, which is still now established. They're going through that process, so they're in this limbo. I spoke to a man yesterday from Carndonna, and he has been given a recommendation to basically pin up the roof. Crazy stuff. So his engineer said demolish the house. He then was told by the housing agency, pin up your roof and take so he's urgent to get on with it. But if he does get on with it, he could be down an absolute fortune of money. So people are in a crazy dilemma, and I have to say the apparatus of the state, the Housing Agency, the National Standards Authority of Ireland, they have dragged their heels on this issue for too long.
All right. Charles, did you want to come back in there?
Yeah. Look, you know the science, Charlie. It doesn't matter how you say it. We know the science is going to dictate that everything has to go, including the foundations. The risk is too great. But right now, as we talk, we're sitting here saying that we know it's coming, the science is coming, but right now there's 322 people remediating their house. For them to be told then that, do you know what, that's failed. You can't use that, you can't go. Charlie, we have to stand up. The people of Donegal are on their knees. They need you to show leadership and say, look, okay, I understand, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put Fianna Fáil aside. I'm going to come for the people in Donegal. I'm going to say no more. Please stop.
Let there be no doubt. Listen, I mean, let there be no doubt. From the very outset, whether in opposition or in government, I have done everything humanly possible within my power and used every power I have had at the cabinet table to move this issue forward. Listen, I'm not in charge of the science or the engineering. But let me finish. That's the National Standards Authority, and I've been very clear throughout that all of that must be followed. And it's key that anything new that is learned is absolutely adjusted and reflected upon. The challenge has been here. This has been a moving piece over the last 2-3 years because the science has been moving. From my objective, I have used the responsibility I have as a cabinet minister in Donegal to be at the cabinet table to drive it forward in every way possible and get the strongest scheme possible
but
for
Charlie,
homeowners.
As a human being, as a Donegal man like myself, our children, there's no standards in place. This can happen again. There's no testing in the quarries. This can happen again. We're waking up in houses every single day. I have children in my own house with inhalers. My wife has an inhaler. It's beyond it.
Just in relation to the testing side of it, where are we in relation to that? I mean, I think you referenced this when we were up in Milford, Charlie McConnell, this €65 million hospital that's being built below us here. Like, are we 100% assured and guaranteed that all the materials going into that, and this is they're a fantastic crew that's working on that down there, a very, very brilliant Donegal company, but are we completely assured and guaranteed that none of the materials going into that are defective?
Yeah, there were changes put in a number of years, 6-7 years ago, in relation to the regulation and in relation to the oversight. But we have discussed here, I mean, and the government have put in place as well a standards review in terms of which the professionals, the engineers, and the National Standards Authority are doing now at the moment. But there has been a change in the last few years, a lot more oversight. But as we know, the science has been emerging and evolving, and it's important that and there's new science happening here in Ireland, which we haven't seen anywhere else in the world as well.
Going into
and it's really important. All of that
any
is
blocks
fully,
going
is
into
fully taken on board too.
any blocks going into a new house now, you can guarantee us that they must meet.
I'm not the competent authority in relation to that, Greg. But what I can say is that there has been a change in relation to the standards and the oversight and the
Charles,
regulation, and it's currently being updated further as well.
Okay, look, I can answer this for you right now. Municat Wind Farm took down 32 windmills last year and replaced them with bigger ones. Okay. The concrete had to come from Roadstone because it's certified, tested 100%. They couldn't do it here because of the standard. They didn't meet the standard.
Right, okay.
So Roadstone had a standard. In Donegal, we don't have a standard, and we're building houses to that right now.
Just before we move on, Charlie McConnell, outgoing minister, because a lot has been said in your absence. You know, what can you say to, and I know you're acutely aware, because we all are, of the older people living in houses that can't get bridging loans, the families, the unintended consequences of this. We know families have been bereaved by suicide because they just can't deal with this. They can't afford to go on the scheme. They simply can't gather up the money. Right, and their houses are falling around them. These people are facing winters. They can't heat the house. These are all your constituents, right? And I'm not talking about 3 or 4 horror stories to try and land one on you. That's not. But we know there are an awful amount of people like this, and people suffering incredibly with their mental health. In schools, kids are asked to do an essay, and the essay is on defective concrete because that's their entire life. 1 in 6 school children in Milford, in Loreto, living in a defective concrete home. Many people can't get onto this scheme. what can you say to what can you say to those people? Because these are almost people outside of the scheme works for some and people are built. These are people, they have no hope and no they're in semi-detached houses. The neighbours can't progress, they can. You know, there's so many people like that. We're not artificially amplifying it, Charlie. Honestly, we're not. What can you say to those people?
It's a trauma for every single family affected, and many people are haven't applied for the scheme and are really worried and are listening to, you know, much of the discussions, particularly online, in relation to it. What I would say now is that the new scheme that has been in place for over a year and a half, previously, under the previous scheme, the homeowner had to come up with the testing costs, and there was upfront costs in relation to that. Now, to apply for the scheme now, it is €600-800. That's what the cost of the initial assessment is. After that, then the testing.
Charlie,
hold on, Parry. After
even
that,
even Fine Gael are backtracking now.
No, let me finish. No. After that, then the testing is now carried out by the state. Okay, for many who are going through it at the moment, many are getting the costs covered or very close to covered. What I would encourage people to do is to apply for the scheme. And
you've got to start listening to the people of Donegal here. 1,300 people packed the Gateway Hotel. 1,300 people.
We have delivered.
1,300.
We have delivered
just months ago in Donegal.
Let me say this.
It's not working, Charlie. Yeah, at some point you have to accept. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, the ministers that you surrounded yourself with, right, have treated the people of Donegal like second class citizens.
Let me say this. Hold on a minute. When the legislation, and I say the new scheme is entirely different from the previous ones before, and we're seeing the evidence now with new homes starting every single week. Padraig, in your instance, okay, after the legislation came in, you and your party promised that you'd publish your own legislation. And you can come back.
81 amendments. I'm happy to answer that.
You can come back.
Will you let me answer it? Because you've made this statement a number of times. No problem. I'll respond in a second.
Let me say it first. You promised in the summer of 2022 you'd publish your own legislation. You never did. Yeah. You came back in the summer of 2023 and you said, we're still working on it, we'll publish it soon. You never did. Yeah. Okay, as I said, we've pointed out before, when you got into government in Northern Ireland, you didn't do anything there at all.
Can I respond, Greg?
That point's been made a couple of times.
Can I respond?
Whenever I finish my point, Greg, you can come back. Whenever I finish my point, you can come back, okay? 6 or 7 weeks ago, 6 or 7 or 3 or 4 months ago at a public meeting, you promised you would do one principal private residence and one rental property. Yeah, and then after you printed your election leaflets, Padraig, you totally changed your promises again, despite the fact that you have delivered on nothing you've said before.
Okay,
can I respond? I politely let him say, because he made the same statement on drive time the other day. So let's deal with the facts, okay? In July 2022, Charlie, you sat in the Dáil chamber while traumatised homeowners were in the public gallery. 81 amendments were put forward. My housing spokesperson, Owen O'Brien, worked with the campaigners in Donegal to draft those amendments. You ignored all of those amendments, you rammed the legislation through, and you watched the campaigners traumatised, banging the Perspex screens in the public gallery. We worked with, and you can check this with the campaigners, this can be verified. Every time we talked about drafting legislation, we were working with the homeowners. We were going to republish the 81... I didn't interrupt you. You put these allegations, I'm dealing with them. So the 81 amendments, we worked with the homeowners. We were going to bring them in again. The campaigners said, hold back because we're engaging with government to try to see how this scheme goes, okay? Every step of the way. They then published the People's Document, which is a tremendous document. 1,300 people in the Gateway Hotel were at the launch of that document. No. Michael Doherty is a leading campaigner in this issue. He drafted most of that People's Document, working in cooperation. To be very clear, he has been down and other campaigners meeting the Sinn Féin housing spokesperson for 4 hours recently with legislation that we're drafting in cooperation with them on this issue. So if you check with Michael Doherty, the most respected campaigner on drafting legislation, he'll verify all of that. So Charlie, you have no credibility. You failed the people of Donegal, and I hope the people of Donegal get their say on Friday on this.
Okay, hang on a second. Charlie, okay, real simple. Why hasn't there been a judicial review? Why hasn't there been a public inquiry? We have wasted thousands of people's lives in Donegal. It's a tragedy. And why haven't you called for a public inquiry? Why haven't you called for a judicial review? You have this within your power. You could do this. You know what I mean? You could show people, I am not for the party, I'm for the people of Donegal.
And I have been throughout, and I have worked night and day
but where is the
on behalf of homeowners
just
to get it to where it is today, and I will continue to do that.
Just in relation to some of the comments Pádraig have made and reference I made earlier, Charles Wood, and I say this with respect, if the campaign is working so closely with Sinn Féin in terms of actually drafting the legislation with Sinn Féin, and unless I've misread what Pádraig McLaughlin says, many of the key figures in the campaign...
Not just Sinn Féin, over opposition parties too.
Opposition parties, right? Yeah. Again, what does that mean to people who say, right, I was going to vote for Charles Wood, but now I'm hearing that, we've got key people like Paddy Diver, we've got Michael Doherty. Isn't it Michael Doherty working with them to draft the legislation?
And Michael Doherty and Paddy Diver, I'm in constant contact with them, and they're supporting me too. You know,
it's whatever it takes then.
Whatever it takes, and we need a voice on the Dáil that's directly affected, because there's nothing worse than Dublin will see than somebody who's directly affected, elected by the people of Donegal to stand in the Dáil. Then they'll know there's a real problem going on. When I'm there, they will know.
We need somebody at the cabinet table. That's where.
But you'll see the cabinet table. It's not
cabinet table, Charlie.
No seat is guaranteed. But we need somebody. At somebody at the cabinet table, we actually need.
Yeah, but you're not guaranteed that seat
to drive it forward.
Okay.
But you've been there.
Just to say, for a genuine
to continue with.
For a genuine 100% redress scheme, it is billions of euro. Okay, and you do need a change of government, and you need Sinn Féin leading the next government. That's the reality to actually deliver the justice that our people need in Donegal.
No. Vincent, go ahead, Vincent.
We can talk till the cows come home. Yeah. Let Friday be the decider of what the people want.
Well, that's what the whole function of the
But let them decide on the Friday.
We can do this. There's a way around this. There's bulk buying. Major companies coming in, getting this done. The way we're building our houses, the most expensive way you can do it, wasting money.
One quick question, and I'll just put this to you, Charlie McConalogue, if that's possible, just in terms of the state of the housing market here in the mica word, right? There's lots of people now sitting in houses with levels of mica that will not lead to their houses crumbling. They can't sell the houses. The banks won't lend on them. You know, there needs to be something put in place that clears all of this up, because, again, we understand why the word mica is continuing to be used, because it's just it's the word that's associated with it. But what about all those people out there now that will come back with levels of mica? We know that's not the problem now. What's being done to move those houses, move the market? Because people are trapped and they're not actually affected by this crisis.
Well, I think that's something that needs more...
Like what?
Well, I mean, I think the National Standards Authority, in terms of defining exactly what the science is around this, is going to be really important. This has been a moving challenge throughout, Greg, and it's something we need to continue to work on. And that is a real challenge at the moment, and I think more work is required in relation to it.
Okay.
And it's something I'll continue to work on.
Yep, quick word, Charles.
My friend Michael down Buncrana, you're listening today, you're in this predicament, and I said to you, I will fight for you. And you've got every right to get the same treatment as everybody else. His house is mica. He feels he's abandoned because he can't do anything with it. But he will not be abandoned. I will make sure of that.
But it's only mica he has.
It's only mica.
Yeah, okay. Right, okay. Back with more from our guests after these.
Treat someone special to luxurious relaxation time in the Seascape Spa at the Silver Tassie. Offering indulging treatments, unique gifts and Christmas gift vouchers. 912-6251. Seascape Spa at the Silver Tassie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Don't even think about buying a bed until you've checked out Restex Beds. Famous for their quality, comfort and excellent service, a Restex bed will ensure a perfect sleep. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, and at Home Store and More, we've everything you'll need to make merry for sure. From twinkling lights and festive decor to cosy throws, we've got it and more. Choose from our extensive range of half-price Christmas tree lights to light up your home blue or bright or glowing warm white. And a Christmas tree, or maybe even two, will make your home feel even more right. Enjoy Christmas. Visit us in store, shop online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Don't miss the Tumbling Paddies live at the Mount Errigal Hotel on Saturday the 30th of November. Secure your ticket now at eventbrite.ie or pay at the door on the evening. Join the Tumbling Paddies for an unforgettable night with one of Ireland's hottest bands at the Mount Errigal Hotel Saturday the 30th of November.
Say goodbye to traditional peat briquettes and embrace the new sustainable alternative, Zip 100% natural heat logs. Simply add them to a lit fire. These super efficient, low moisture Zip heat logs burn longer and hotter than wood, making them the cost-effective way to heat your home. And they also produce less ash than peat briquettes, meaning reduced cleaning between fires. Zip 100% natural heat logs are available in all good retailers. Give your fire some zip.
Don't miss your chance to take a closer look at Cooper's latest models in Ireland. Introducing the Cooper Terramar, our sporty SUV available in PHEV, petrol and mild hybrid. And the all-new Cooper Tavascan, our first 100% electric SUV coupe. Join us for an exclusive preview event from now to the 28th of November to see these stunning vehicles up close. DMG Cooper, Clare Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 07497 21396 or log on to dmgmotors.ie for more details.
Get into the festive spirit with amazing Christmas value at Aldi. A choice of festive party food, including mini veggie spring rolls from just 99¢. Unbeatable value on Guinness 12 500ml can pack, now only 19.88. And oh crumbs, wait till you hear this. From November 21st to Elite chocolate tea cakes, now only €7.99 each. Save €5. Aldi, have a cracking Christmas. While stocks last, quantity restrictions apply. Get the facts, be drinkware, visit drinkware.ie. Deposit return scheme may apply.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with the Silver Tassie Hotel, the perfect venue for a Christmas get-together. Serving festive lunch, afternoon tea, dinner and drinks throughout December. Follow Silver Tassie Hotel on Facebook and Instagram.
The Clarence Gift with Beauty is available at McElhinney's for a limited time only. Buy 2 Clarence products, one to be moisturiser or serum, and receive 4 beauty essentials free with your purchase. Stock up on your favourite Clarence products or try something new. Shop Clarence at McElhinney's and get a free gift.
Financial scams are everywhere. Scammers are using increasingly sophisticated ways to trick you. Fight back by staying one step ahead. The next time you get an unexpected call, text, or email offering you a financial product or requesting your bank or credit card details, ask yourself, is this a scam? Always check you're dealing with a genuine firm before giving your personal information or transferring money. To find out how to beat the scammers, go to centralbank.ie/financial scams.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Thinking of getting a new car in 2025? Why not get one in 2026 as well? Buy a selected 251 Nissan and we'll replace it with a 261 Nissan for free. For details about this and all our 251 offers, contact your local Nissan dealer or visit nissan.ie. Nissan. Defy ordinary. Terms and conditions apply.
Give the gift of beauty and rejuvenation this Christmas with the voucher from Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore. Your loved one can choose from a range of transformative treatments, including PDO thread lifts and skin boosters designed to improve facial contours by lifting and tightening the skin. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin concerns. Christmas party hair and makeup packages available. Secure your voucher at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore on 07495 32575.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
OK, you're welcome back. The time is 18 minutes past 11. Thank you very much for your patience. We have to pay the bills, of course. It is the 9 till Noon show. We're in our second election debate. And look, I suppose if you look over the 6 hours of conversation, it was inevitable that such an important issue as defective concrete was going to dominate the situation. And it gives everyone a chance to have a say and a right to reply and all that stuff. Housing, stroke, immigration. I think they're all kind of somewhat somewhat connected. Some people might feel they're more connected than others might. This is one of the things. Vincent J. Bradley, that you've been very focused on. Is it as big an issue now? Do you think? Do you think this is as big an issue now, or even a bigger issue now than it might have been in your council campaign?
Yeah, it's actually a bigger issue now because people are realising we've got thousands and thousands of people coming into this country on a weekly basis. Nobody knows where they're coming from. The government shouldn't be allowed, because you take it Hungary and the Netherlands. The Netherlands are demanding to opt out of the EU Migration Pact. Ireland has an opt-out clause, but you just went and voted in. So what the hell's going on? The people were never asked for the rest of the world to come into this country. There is no houses. Most of these people, we don't know who they are. They're all just coming in here chancing their arm. We made it very clear in the 2000...
So just in relation to that, you believe that, in your community that you're from, has a lot of people from different backgrounds living and integrated into it. In some cases, you're of the view they're just chancing their arms.
Well, the Ukrainian one wants to start to cut the funds, and the Ukrainians, there's a lot of Ukrainians going back. So they're obviously economic migrants. Most of these people are coming in here are economic migrants.
Yeah.
So in 2004, the people of this country made it very clear about mass immigration through the Anchor Baby referendum. 80% of the people went out and said, we don't want this. And then since that period of time, especially this last 10 years, the government has ranked it up. And if you go back to 2010, 15 years ago, there's over plus 1 million people, 1.23 million people came into this country. They're all housed. They're all in accommodation, but yet the Irish people are dying on the streets, which times you didn't agree with me before, but on the summertime, we have people dying on the streets.
Not sure that was me.
It was you.
Yeah.
So we have a mess of a country. People that are renting are living in fear because they're only as good as their last rent, because they could be put out in the street and new tenants moved in. More than likely, people not from the country.
So do you think that there should be a ban on no-fault evictions? We have to come up with solutions too, Vincent.
Right. Okay. If you're wrecking a house and destroying a house, and you shouldn't be allowed in the house. But if you're put out, there's unfair competition at the minute, because you take Ukrainians, they're getting an €800 tax free to the landlord, very attractive, over more than somebody else. The people are in total dismay because we have crime now gone up. This government has actually turned on the people of this country. Has turned this country into a river of blood, because we have people being killed by people that should not be in this country.
Yeah.
We have young women being killed. We have 2 men actually up in Sligo, was it 2 years ago, their heads cut off them. This is insanity.
Mm-hmm.
We have
and do you think genuinely that's reflective?
This is a problem. We're supposed to walk about our own country without fear or hindrance. We can't. The people can't do that now. Young children are outside.
So you're genuinely more afraid now.
The people are. The people are telling me.
Okay.
The people are saying that they can't put out.
I'm not questioning that, by the way. I'm just teasing it out with you.
And gang rapes has gone through the roof. This culture has to stop.
Okay.
Young children being raped, boys and girls. Sorry.
What's the proportionate increase in relation to?
Well, there is one is too many. Like it's not about stats. It's one is too many.
Okay.
And the government are fueling it because they're inviting the world to come in here, get the free houses. There is no houses for nobody. There's no houses for the people in the country, never mind the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean...
And it's a human trafficking as well. People are coming in here facilitating human trafficking. The Irish government are facilitators in human trafficking. These people that come across the channel, they're wealthy. They have money to do all this, to pay criminals to come into the channel and to England. They're all coming out of England. A percentage have come out of England. Nobody knows. The government doesn't even know where they come from. The government are not even asking where they come from. The government doesn't want to know. Just get them in here.
Okay. I mean, obviously, Charlie McConalogue, I think all the main parties have adjusted
their... for the migration pack? That's the
Do you want to respond to that, Charlie?
So listen. I mean, I think first of all, I think it's totally wrong to be tying and making those assertions, Vincent, in relation to immigrants and tying.
But we see the results of the people. We see the attacks on the people.
Come back in a second.
We have issues up and down the country in district courts, circuit courts every week, every month, and there's no evidence in relation to.
Just in relation to that, if you don't mind, Charlie. And I see you hadn't spoken much in the first hour, and I don't want to find like I'm being argumentative with you, but the senior Gardaí in this county say that there has been no increase in criminality or sexual assaults attributed to those coming into the county, Vincent. I can only go by what they're saying, but that's what the senior Gardaí is saying.
If you go into our district or circuit courts, you won't be seeing, Ukrainians or IPAS there. There's no, and that's. But we've seen that, and it scares people. Okay, that type of, and it's incorrect.
But broadly speaking, in terms of immigration,
broadly speaking. So listen, we live in a turbulent world at the moment, and we're currently in seeing the first war on European soil since the Second World War, in terms of what's happening in Ukraine, and we also see what's happening in many other parts of the world, and Gaza and Palestine and Lebanon as well, and indeed there's significant strife in other parts of the world, in North Africa for example, and that has led not just in Ireland but to many other countries as well across Europe, an increase in terms of those seeking asylum and protection, and Irish people, particularly in the context of the Ukraine war, really stepped up.
But do you think Irish people are being asked to do too much, Charlie?
But what we're seeing now actually is we're seeing
how many people
what we're seeing now, what we're seeing in our own county. What we're seeing in our own county now, for example, as well, is
we're seeing a displacement of the Irish people who have been replaced.
No, but there's actually more.
That's what's going on, Charlie.
I'll come back to you in a second.
But there's actually, for example, now in Donegal, there's actually more leaving now accommodation in Donegal than there is coming in. And the representation.
But a lot of those are going into the private rental sector.
But many are leaving the county altogether as well. And so, but there's no doubt that given what happened in Ukraine 2 years ago, it led to a significant uptake. People responded very strongly to that. But it also put big pressure on the immigration system. And we have to have an immigration system that works, where people are fleeing persecution and are in danger of their life. They need to get
How many is going to be enough?
They need to be able to get quick answers, okay? And you have to work internationally with other countries to manage that piece.
Vincent, if people are genuinely, if the system is in place that determines that people are genuinely fleeing persecution and war, do you believe that we should be helping them?
Limited. We're a small country.
But how many do you think?
Limited. We're a small country. This country now, there is no houses left or hospitals. There's nothing left in the country. We're swamped. We've possibly nearly 2 million people that are not born in this country here. We're about 3.5 million people. We're being replaced because all our young children are leaving the country because they don't see a future. They can't get houses.
The statistics would show that the white Irish are still, I think it's 87%, something along those lines.
They're a little over 70%. That's the best.
Okay.
Right. Our young people are leaving. There is no houses.
It's really important to dig into those stats because a lot of the people that aren't born here are actually from England and
I know
from Europe
what you're
who
saying.
can move freely. You know what I mean? It's not people from outside the EU or Britain.
But when is enough going to be enough?
Just you answer the question. What is enough?
Well, we've passed the point.
So you're saying that if people are genuinely fleeing war, hardship, female
if you're genuinely fleeing war, you seek asylum in the first safe country. They're coming through all the countries across Europe. They're sitting over about England.
With no direct flights to here.
But that's not that's under the Dublin Agreement. It states clearly that you seek refuge in your first port of call.
Okay,
that's it.
All right then.
And Ireland is. They probably didn't even know where Ireland was 2 days before.
Charles Ward, what's your view?
So we take over twice the national average of asylum seekers. Okay, and this is mixed in with the fact is that we're the forgotten county, and there's a narrative of us versus them. Okay, which is not the way it is at all. I work in healthcare. I have IPAS people working with me. We specialise in dementia care. They work with me. They're kind, loving people who have had to flee countries due to persecution. Okay, what we've got going on is there's no planning. The government plan is in place. It's bad management. Okay, along with the fact is that we're making millionaires out of people who are housing IPAS families. So what we've got going on is when they're going out into the communities, there's no consultation. There's services that are stretched already. There should be consultation with groups, community groups, so that we know that is a doctor's going to be overwhelmed, is a school's going to be overwhelmed. But this doesn't come to pass. It's just you're thrown in there, and that's the way it is. And the other thing is with IPAS families is when this contract is up and they have to go into our communities, they're left trying to find houses in a defective concrete crisis going on where there's other people trying to get rented accommodation, and they're going from a paid accommodation to paying 1,000 to 1,200 a month for a house, and they're simply going to the wall. They can't afford it.
All right, Pádraig McLaughlin, Sinn Féin.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it that Donegal has taken, per head of capita, the largest number of refugees, Ukrainian refugees, and international protection applicants, asylum seekers. So there's been a huge burden taken by the people. My big problem is the lack of consultation again and again with communities, and the fact that a small group of people made a fortune of money of this.
That's where we're at now.
That is, yeah, and it has to change.
Yeah,
it has to change. You know.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Well, in terms of ourselves, a couple of things, if you don't mind, just want to go through in terms of our own policy area. We would bring in an immigration management agency. So that in terms of the issue of people coming into the country, you know, every country has a responsibility to accept genuine asylum seekers. But the issue here is that people from safe countries, it takes too long to process their applications. Then when they're rejected, there's no clear strategy about how they go back to their home countries or back to the country that they landed in first. So you need to seriously enhance the resources to do that much, much quicker. You then need to make sure that the facilities that you're building are state-run, right? And you need to make sure that the communities that can best cope with it. So if you look at the Pobble index of deprivation, there's ways of looking at communities across the state that would be better positioned to deal with this. I mean,
have you any limit to the amount that is going to come into this country?
No, just to be clear.
Have you got a limit?
But just to answer your question, Vincent, because every country has a responsibility to take.
They have a responsibility.
Hold on, Vincent, you asked me a question. Okay, so I'm going to answer your question. Right. Okay, so every country in the world, the reason why we get to have our people emigrating all around the world.
Geneva Convention,
yes, absolutely. So genuine asylum seekers, you've said yourself, or you agree with this, should be facilitated. That's it. Yeah. So what we need to do is make sure those who are not genuine, quickly make decisions and quickly they go home. And then whatever you then are dealing with, that they are housed in state provision.
That so is kind of what you're looking for, though, Vincent. You're not anti-immigration. You said that yourself. Yeah. You couldn't put a figure on how many enough is enough. So really what you're calling for is similar to what the government is moving towards, the outgoing government is, and what Charlie McConnell and Pádraig McLaughlin is proposing.
It has to be shut down, like. It has to be shut down.
And in terms of then... How do you fill our vacancies sort of in how then do we fill vacancies in sort of healthcare?
Well, in 2019 in that hospital down there, I was actually down in the hospital in 2019, there was 26 student nurses. 2 of them were actually leaving the country. 24 of them went for job interviews. They all got 19 and a half hours. They all had to leave the country because they weren't being employed.
Okay. So you'll believe that the nurses that could be working there are leaving. Okay,
of course they want to come back home. But they can't get accommodation. They can't get work.
Okay,
but we're taking in because it's all cheap labour as well through agencies and stuff.
I don't think agency works cheap. So I take your point.
I can just say this now. I was just talking to people that were working with me, 2 full-time workers with 2 kids, 40 hours a week, both of them, childcare, the whole lot. They've got a deposit for their house, okay, that they went and worked in Australia to get. This deposit is sitting there waiting to be used. They're paying rent $1,200, but for them to get their mortgage, they're having to put money on top of this. They're squeezed. So each one of them have to produce 150
We'll come back specifically about housing if that's okay. Just a quick question, because I've been contacted directly by a few of the families who very sadly lost loved ones in the Creasa explosion, and it's a simple sort of a question. They want to ask if you fully support the inquiry into the Creasa explosion, and I presume they mean a timely inquiry rather than there's room for one, but after other things have continued. So, Pádraig McLaughlin, just speaking to those Creasla families, do you support an inquiry into the Creasla explosion?
Yes, Mary Lou MacDonald, our leader, joined myself and Pierce Doherty at a recent meeting with the families. It was a harrowing meeting because we all were heartbroken at that time, but all of us move on with our lives and they're stuck in that moment. It's harrowing, so yes, absolutely support it.
Charlie McConnell?
Yeah, I recently met along with the Minister for Justice, Ellen McEntee, and Eamon Ryan with all of the families, and listen, the the trauma is unbelievable, and they live it every day, and they absolutely deserve to get to the bottom of what
Micheál
happened.
Martin sort of suggested he's not opposed to it, but the timeline, are you of a different view?
No, well, that's, I mean, I think the government are looking at it in the context of the ongoing investigations. But
what's your feeling? You think it could progress in tandem?
I think we're considering, but I think bottom line is there has to be full get to the bottom of it. That may require public
I'm sorry
inquiry,
to press you on this because I'll just be truthful. I don't.
Yes,
so just to be clear, are you saying
that
you'd be in favour of it progressing now in tandem with the other investigations that are
I think we
ongoing?
have to take advice to make sure it doesn't impede in any way the existing investigations, but I'm absolutely in favour of a full investigation so that we get to the bottom and the families know fully what happened and how it happened, and I think they can be prevented in future.
We all want that, don't we, Charles?
These families need closure, and this is the way to do it. Now, Councillor Frank McBurty yesterday put a motion in, and it was seconded by Thomas Sean Devine, and the 100% Redress Party fully support public inquiry and give these families the closure they need.
Vincent?
Yes, there has to be closure now, of course, because it's going to drag on too long, and as I say, the people need to get rest as well. So.
Okay, back with more about delivering housing and the housing situation after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Your one-stop shop this Christmas. Gift vouchers for the Silver Tassie Hotel and Seascape Spa are available online at silvertassiehotel.com or from hotel reception. The Silver Tassie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Cén fág am rúcht an Vulcan. An éfacht ag inscanna gana? Cén dói Austin Crystal? An overíon overwália. Cén cuí cohiach an spás? Cad is cúis le tunardí éagsú le fuma? An éfacht ag ráic na sula arm las?
Tá páistí lán de cheiste na fisracha. Tug an blast óliaach de ESB atá curtha fálaigh an RDS, cuacht de fáistí an óliaach atá taobh hir de cheiste na siimplí a isrú. Díra cosú leis na ceiste na seo. Cuir ceist do runga ag esbscienceblast.com.
Looking for your number one stop shop that's got it all? Then make John McNulty's convenience store and top oil service station in Stranraer, Donegal your number one destination. Whether you're topping up on petrol or diesel, stocking up on solid fuel, or grabbing a delicious bite from their hot deli, John McNulty's has everything you need. Convenience, quality and service, all in one place. Because at John McNulty's, they put you first. Visit John McNulty's today.
The Mother and Baby Institution's payment scheme is now open for applications. This scheme provides financial payments and health supports to eligible people who spend time in mother and baby and county home institutions in Ireland. There's a straightforward application process in place to help everyone access the benefits that they're entitled to. To find out more, visit gov.ie/payment scheme or call the helpline at 01 522 9992, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
If you want the ultimate running shoe to take you through winter, the Asics Gel Cumulus 26 GTX has you covered. With waterproof Gore-Tex technology and durable design, these shoes will keep your feet dry and cushioned mile after mile. See in store or online at michaelmurphysports.ie. Michael Murphy Sports, where your run begins.
Discover Centra's Simple Savers, your go-to for great everyday value. Like Centra Selected Chill Party Food, only 3 for €10. Selected Galaxy 100 gram bars, $1.50 each. And Finca Las Moras Data #1 Art Wine 4-pack, only $30.76. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Tommy Fleming brings his Christmas concert to Dunleary Theatre Gidor this Saturday night, 30th of November. A night of folk, Irish and contemporary classics with Tommy and his band. Last few tickets available now from TommyFleming.com or at the venue. Tommy Fleming, Dunleary Theatre Gidor this Saturday.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We have Charlie McConnell with us, Pádraig McLaughlin, Charles Ward, Vincent J. Bradley, and I think we're going to have to devote, I suppose, the rest of this to one of the biggest issues in the county. That's housing, generally speaking, as well. And Charles, I did cut you as I was heading to that break because I think it's probably an important story, and so I had to get that out of the road.
Yeah, that's okay. A lady wrote this down for me yesterday, and I just wanted her circumstances. And 2 full-time workers, and these are listening today, with 2 kids paying for childcare. They've been away. They've saved up the money for their house, a deposit, which is in around 30,000, just to get a house in their local area. Now, they've gone to the bank, they're paying $1,200 a month rent on top of that, including their bills, utilities, cars, car loans and so on. So they have to pay the bank a cost of living. It's like a savings plan, and it's €150 each. After they complete this, after 6 months, they can go and get their mortgage. But with the cost of the rent, they are squeezed. With the cost of their bills, they're squeezed. And I said to them, when realistically will you be able to maintain that deposit and meet your goals? She says, not in the next 5 years. That's what's going on. She said to me, one of two things. If I didn't play by the rules, I would have been okay. And when I said, what do you mean by playing by the rules? She says, well, I could have gone on and done it different ways. I could have been in the house by myself and not got married to my partner, and things would have worked out. She says, I'm the middle, I'm squeezed, I'm needing help. And that's why I'm highlighting stuff like this, because this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're facing.
Okay, and this is such an important issue as well. People want to hear about actual delivery, right? Because there's 10s and 20s and 30s and 40s of thousands of houses being pulled out of the air. People want to know, with our current infrastructure on our planning regulations, how many houses can Sinn Féin deliver in Donegal in 5 years, and how?
Yeah. Well, Pierce Doherty was here yesterday, and he's our finance spokesperson, and he's worked for a long time now with Owen O'Brien, our housing spokesperson, to give people hope. So I just want to touch just on, because Charles has very importantly raised that story. This is a reality across, I canvass all across North Donegal, and the amount of families that I have met that have said, we are working families and we cannot put a roof over our head. This is where we're at now in Donegal today in 2024, where you have two people working full time who can't afford to put a roof over their head. Rents have doubled. I'll answer that question. Like I say, very good question. Yeah. In 2010, from 2010 to 2021, that's 11 years. Okay, Donegal County Council, because of government policy, Donegal County Council delivered less than 560 houses in that 11-year period. So what happened was, rather than people being housed in council housing, they were pushed into the private rental market. 2002, just 1 year, 2002, Donegal County Council and the Town Council delivered 560 houses. So in other words, 1 year, 2002, 560 houses, 11 years, less than 560. A total disaster that's led us now to the point, and then if you throw in defective blocks and the demand for rental accommodation, so there's just not enough rental accommodation. It's a disaster. So you have to have a plan, and we put our plan.
You also have to put into, you have to factor into that too.
Would you take migration into that there as a factor?
Well, you do have to factor in what Vincent said there, because you have.
I think I agree with Vincent.
Because you're fueling it. Yeah. Do you agree with me?
I agree that our people. This is the reality of 2024 in Donegal. Yeah. This is my lived reality. Every day of my life, right? Every day I deal with the implications of the failure of government policy. Working families that can't do this. So yes, people are angry when they're dealing with that, and then they're seeing an influx. That is
Would
a correct.
Would you agree with Charlie that mass migration is a catalyst in the fueling of the housing crisis?
Oh no, it's not. No, it's not the catalyst or fueling. To be very clear, I've laid out the reason.
I'll put something to Charlie McConalogue, if that's all right. And he can answer that if he wished. Charlie, how do we deliver houses for people? Because the stories on our show, I mentioned this yesterday. These are people who are working. They're facing eviction. They've nowhere to go. They could get a mortgage for the same house for €600 or €700 that they're being asked to pay €1,200 or €1,300 in rent for, and that obviously then, as I think Charles was referencing, that then they're told by the bank you can't afford to pay a mortgage because you're paying too much rent. It's a catch-22, and we're not building, and there is a serious infrastructural gap in this county, I think, to actually progress building on the scale that either the government or Sinn Féin are promising.
Well, look, it was a key department Fianna Fáil sought after the last election, Greg, because we wanted to get in there and make real progress in housing. 4 years ago, the total number of houses that were being built nationally was 20,000 houses. We published Housing for All and put a number of programmes and supports in place. This year, it's going to be closer to 40,000 houses. Okay, and we're seeing. Are
they in this county? Any of them up here?
Well,
or how many?
For example, we've seen. So, for example, in terms of social housing, Pádraig mentioned the figure there that in 11 years there was 500 houses built in total. Okay, we put Housing for All in place. We have the largest ever investment in social housing nationally. And in Donegal here, what's that seeing is that by the end of this month there'll be 600 houses either completed or commenced construction for social housing in Donegal since Housing for All came in 2 years ago. We've also we're ramping it up, but that's coming from.
But it's Housing for All part of the problem,
let me make this point. But that's pretty much coming from nothing. All that was happening 4.5 years ago was some purchases, not new builds. We've got the council back into building, and by the end of this year we'll see 600 either completed or under construction.
Do you know what the breakdown of that is? Is commencement? Commencement.
We have unlimited amount of people coming into this country with no control over it.
The breakdown of that is 220 have been completed,
Charlie.
and by the end of the year, between that and what is also underway, it'll be a total of 600.
Slow, Charlie.
But that's coming from a standing start, and that's something we need to build
Vincent,
on.
what did you say there?
How can you count numbers in houses?
Let me just finish
200 to 300, 400 houses.
Let me just finish.
We have unlimited numbers of people coming into the country.
Let me just finish the point. Okay. Another initiative which Fianna Fáil has introduced in government is the vacant and derelict property grant. And across Donegal here, we've seen 900 applications for that. And as I go around, I see the evidence of that, people bringing that back, bringing old properties back into play. And the other thing...
When is that review going to be published? The vacant property grant.
I'm not sure when it's going to be
twice now.
I'm not sure when it's going to be published. But what I say is, in terms of the actual scheme we've brought in, the evidence of it in the ground is very much there, and we've had the largest actually uptake anywhere in the country of that. And the other scheme that's been introduced and that we're pushing on with is the Help to Buy, where young people can get €30,000. Okay,
young people are
and
all
this €30,000 towards their deposit.
That's
okay,
nonsense,
for their home. And this also applies, Greg. What we did was we extended that as well to one-off rural houses. So for young,
Vincent, it's kind of
I've been interrupted there regularly.
Yeah, I know.
Let me finish the point. That helps young people, whether you're farm or you live growing up in the community.
I'll let you come back in.
To be able to get €30,000 of tax you've already paid back to get your deposit together to start to build a house. And that's something that, for example, Sinn Féin is planning to actually do away with under the next government. So we have a lot of progress underway.
Unravelling the government schemes, does that make sense?
Keep that going and see it increased.
Well, the problem is, and Charlie, you live in this county, you must see it, right? The delivery of council housing is agonisingly slow, agonisingly. Waiting lists are absolutely huge. House prices have gone through the roof in Donegal. Rents have doubled, literally doubled over the last sort of 5-6 years. Like this is under your watch. I mean, I said about the it's under your watch. 9 years.
Right, Vincent. Just would you get the point that you're trying to make just out? What do you say? So you see, it's kind of an ironic situation in that Charlie's a member of the government, and you're not blaming him. You're actually blaming immigrants, which is. But anyway.
Well, it's the government's responsibility. It's the government's fault for creating the situation. There is no houses.
Okay, and you believe that is...
Our young people can't get build on their own farm, on their own land, because they're putting through hoops for planning.
Yeah.
Yet, again, these multinational companies that are housing immigrants and stuff coming into the country, they're exempt from planning.
Mm.
So
but you don't. I mean, but obviously, 60 people living in a hotel or an apartment block in Donegal is not the solution to the Irish housing crisis for Irish people in inverted commas, to make that differentiation.
Well, ease up on the planning for the people and give them off their family farm. Let the people build on their land. Sure, the M56 as well.
We need to go back in time here to make this work. We need to go back to the SI housing. We need to increase the social. Like if you're on social welfare or you're in social housing, if you earn or somebody works and earn over 30,000, you're eliminated. So if they've got two people working, okay, and they are in the middle of trying to save for a house and they're not going to get there because their wages are too low, then we have to allow them to become to get on the social housing. So the way we used to do it, and particularly talking about where I'm from in Armore, SI housing come in and they would build a house on the land, and it helped our community tremendously down in Armore. And you would, to this day, you can still see when you go out, you can still identify, and them houses were built to such a great standard.
Yeah. Obviously, councillors in Donegal are united in wanting to allow people to build on the N56. It's, I think, effectively in the gift of the Housing Minister, Charlie McConalogue. Why is he resisting the will of the elected representatives here? They're on the ground. They know what's best for the county, don't they?
Yeah, and listen, that's something I've been working with our councillors on as well, and liaising with the Minister. I think we need more flexibility in relation to the N56 in particular.
Right. Did you want to make your? Have you finished your point, Pádraig, in relation to?
I think that, you know, as a society, you have to make a decision here. And are we going to accept a situation where young people, families, and indeed older people, but young people who are both working, cannot put a roof over their head? Like, we have to come up with a pathway. Now, we have put forward the most comprehensive policy any opposition party ever has, a home of your own, over 100 pages, incredibly detailed, fully costed.
Who actually owns the house? Who owns the ground?
Yeah, let's just deal with that, okay? Yeah. So there's let me just deal with that. You asked me a question, okay? So right now in Donegal, there's no plan to build affordable housing anywhere in this county. There is no plan whatsoever. I've engaged with Donegal County Council. They have to go through so many hoops. It's not there. So you have publicly owned land all across this county, and what we've said in Donegal and all across the state is that on publicly owned land, we will intervene and build houses, okay, make them affordable related to your income. That means the state would put forward, you have all the cost savings because it's publicly owned land, and the state puts forward an amount of money.
Who's going to build those in Donegal? Because
yes, I question. Here's the thing, right? And whenever the collapse took place back in the day, we were building 90,000 houses per annum. 90,000. We today have more construction workers in Ireland than we had back then. So what's happening is they're deployed doing all sorts of other things.
They're in Dublin and they're in other building office blocks.
I'm convinced if you have a plan, be it council housing, affordable housing, defective block housing, that's and you do it state run, where you have multi-annual contracts where you're offering, you know, very considerable pipelines of work. But more importantly, when Owen and Pearce were drafting this policy, they engaged extensively with people who actually build houses in Ireland, and they looked at the Housing Commission, who are the experts, who said we need to build 65,000 houses per year. Yes. So that's where it comes from. It's based on talking to people who know how to build houses and know how to plan for building houses.
Just go ahead, Charles. I'll come back to you, Charlie.
I know how to build houses. I worked with the Reedy brothers in Kilmany. I worked with Sean Devlin down in Kilmany, and I built with them. There would be a 5-man squad, me included. We'd build 48 houses a year. Back 20 years ago, it was affordable. Right now, we're in a worse state now than we are then. We're meant to progress, but we're left behind. I've had meetings with modular home providers, and the prices that they're given, if they get multiples, we could get it in and around 80,000.
In relation to that, Charlie, why did we not go down that route? Why was that ruled out by the Department of Housing so early on? In that, you know, we have many crises here, but not least defective concrete and this housing crisis. But why is part of the solution not modular housing? Because, of course, modular housing is part of the solution for Ukrainian families and others in Sligo. And I'm not having a go on them, by the way. I just have to state the facts. But up here, it was ruled out for families with defective concrete, and doesn't seem to be a solution to even a social housing situation. Well, no, why up here is it different?
It wasn't ruled out by government. The government actually said they would be willing to work with the council of the council.
I was down. Charlie, I have to cut across it there. I was down in the Clanry Hotel, and a spokesperson for the housing agency said we are not considering modular housing in Donegal.
No, but the Minister did say that if the council came forward with a proposal, that he would consider it from them. So, and listen, we're discussing here.
Donegal County Council.
That's what the Minister said. Yeah,
that's what Donegal County Council.
Contact the council and see what the story is.
And listen, on housing in particular, okay, as I say, we've seen it grow from 20,000 to almost 40,000 now. We need to push that on and keep that momentum up. We don't need to reinvent the wheel in relation to it. We don't need to dismantle the progress we've seen. We don't need to get rid of the Land Development Agency, which
let me finish.
every year. We don't need to get rid of the Land Development Agency, which is actually starting to produce very significant houses. And if you look at in Donegal here, about half of, and I've mentioned the vacant property grant, where 900 people have applied for it here in our own county, and it's making a real impact. But also then we have about half of the houses in Donegal, roughly, are one-off houses, one-off rural houses. The supports the government has in place, to help people build one-off rural houses is that you can get €30,000 towards your mortgage, and then if you can also get support as well through the Help to Buy scheme or through the First Home scheme as well, in terms of actually being able to get that mortgage.
What's the numbers taking that up?
That is something. There's been 40,000 people, for example.
No, Donegal.
There's been 40,000 people across the country have support.
But what's in Donegal? What's in Donegal? How many of them have taken it up in Donegal?
Every single young person today, Charles.
Has there been a significant uptake in Donegal? I'm not asking you for the exact figure.
I don't have the figure, but what I'd say is this: every single young person in Donegal who's going to build their first home on their own land in any town land in this county at the moment can apply to the revenue for €30,000 of tax they've already paid to get it back to put towards a deposit, €30,000. They can also then apply to the to the First Home scheme. That applies to, but that would apply to. But let me finish, Parry.
Yes, but Charlie, in fairness, I've been very fair. Charlie, I've been very fair.
Which
Parry, come back in there.
Would actually get rid of.
See if you step back a few paces, Charlie, right? It all goes back to what's the reality on the ground in Donegal, and the reality on the ground is that there is no plan to build affordable housing anywhere right now as we speak, anywhere in Donegal. Even though, let me finish. We're in Donegal as our plan to build affordable. We're talking about people who earn over €30,000 who can't go on the housing list and can't afford a roof over their head. That cohort is a big cohort of people.
What is just in terms of your plan? What's the salary cap to qualify?
Well, no, the issue is, you see, you've got three things that you need to do. Okay,
so you've got salary cap?
Well, right now it's €30,000. We would increase that.
But what is it?
But
just so for people
I think it's another 5,000-10,000. But just let me answer the question, right? Because it's important, right? There's three things you need to do in relation to housing. There's the area of council housing. Those who earn 30, 35, 40 under our plan or less, you'll always have to provide. And that, by the way, that's not free housing. You pay rent.
Understood.
I always get annoyed. People think council housing is free housing.
Not, no.
You pay rent. All it is you have security for the rest of your life as long as you pay the rent. That's all you have. Then you need to have. This is the huge gap right now. Those who will earn between, say, 30, 40,000 up to maybe 70, 80, they just can't put a roof over their head.
70, 80. That's not enough.
But what I'm trying.
Combined income.
But Greg, just to be clear, right? No. It's an actual solution which you have not provided. And the problem is, your Minister Darrell Bryan has failed.
Very brief word.
Very brief. All these houses that we're going to build, the blocks are coming from in Donegal, the quarries still aren't regulated. So before we do things, let's get the quarries regulated before we start building houses.
Okay, now listen, this is the level of engagement today. It is literally, I would say, close to 1,000 comments. So hopefully that relates to people voting, because it's really, really important that we do. I'm not being preachy. You can choose not to. That's up to you. But every vote makes a difference. Vincent J. Bradley, Independent. Good luck with your rest of your campaign and with your election. Outgoing Minister Charlie McConalogue of Fianna Fáil, thank you for joining us. Charles Ward, the 100% Redress Party, the very best of luck to you as well. And Pádraig McLaughlin of Sinn Féin. Gurmaha Gut. Okay, we'll be back with the weather. Stay right where you are, if I can remember how to trigger that. Yes, here it is.
The 9 till noon show with Donegal's multi-award winning wedding venue, the Silver Tassie Hotel.